My question is addressed to the Honourable Attorney General, whether, in regard to the recent arbitral award in favour of Betamax Limited, he will state, A, the terms of the award, indicating if a claim of some 4.5 billion rupees has been received from Betamax Limited, B, whether the Solicitor General had approved the procedure adopted for the termination of the contract with Betamax Limited in 2015, C, full details of any alleged cost saving made since the termination of the contract with Betamax Limited, and D, if an appeal will now be lodged against the award.
Madam Speaker, the issue of the contract of affreightment regarding the transportation of petroleum products for Mauritius signed between the State Trading Corporation and Betamax Limited has been raised and addressed in this House on many occasions. The information I would be providing in this PNQ has been obtained from the Honourable Minister of Industry, Commerce and Consumer Protection, under whose portfolio the STC falls. Let me remind the House of some facts about this contract and in the way in which it was allocated in 2009, when the Honourable Leader of the Opposition was a senior member of the then government. Madam Speaker, the Betamax Limited contract was awarded by the then Minister of Public Infrastructure, then Honourable Bechu, when the Labour PMSD alliance was in government. It should be pointed out that the Attorney General's office, which was consulted, did not give its clearance to the contract as proposed by Mr. Bunjan, one of the proponents of Betamax Limited. One of the grounds was that the Public Procurement Act had not been followed. Despite that, the issue was pursued by the then government, disregarding the legal advice, and it is not a mere coincidence that it was on the very day on which the STC board was considering the contract of affreightment that Betamax Limited was incorporated. Madam Speaker, the experts consulted by the State Trading Corporation are unanimous in saying that they've never seen such a contract of affreightment, the terms of which are not to the benefit of the State Trading Corporation. For instance, the COA is drafted very much in favour of Betamax Limited, and the terms provide for the STC to pay far above the market rate for the services provided, and for items which we would not expect the STC to pay according to usual market practice. Madam Speaker, the central element is that the price structure was changed by Betamax Limited and approved by the then government, whereby, instead of applying market rates for the freight for transport at a fixed rate much higher than the prevailing ones was retained. The contract of affreightment also included an escalation clause with an increase every 5 years. The House is aware that as soon as this government came into power in December 2014, an interministerial committee was set up by Cabinet to renegotiate the contract of affreightment with Betamax Limited, namely on the following: demurrage charges, because it was unusual in the context of a single vessel full-time charter; freight charges, exorbitant as well as above market rates; escalation rates for freight and demurrage, unheard of in the freight market; port dues and bunker consumption on State Trading Corporation's account, payable over and above freight rates contrary to market practice; and additional cargo. Betamax Limited had exclusive rights to provide for freight services beyond the capacity of 64,000 metric tonnes of Red Eagle. Therefore, the cost of any additional cargo on another vessel would still be paid to Betamax Limited based on the existing contract rates. Unfortunately, even though 3 meetings were held with Betamax Limited to review the contract of affreightment, Betamax Limited did not demonstrate any genuine willingness to renegotiate the COA and did not substantiate any of their averments with documentary evidence. Thus, on 30th of January 2015, as a responsible government, we took a decision in the public interest for the State Trading Corporation to terminate forthwith the contract of affreightment with Betamax Limited in the light of, inter alia, the lawful procedure and processes regarding the allocation of the contract. Madam Speaker, in regard to Part A of the question, the terms of the award cannot be disclosed as per Rule 35 of the 2000 edition rules of the Singapore International Arbitration Centre, which provides that, and I quote from Rule 35(1), quote, "The parties in the tribunal shall at all times treat all matters relating to the proceedings and the award as confidential," end of quote. However, to enlighten the House, and from information which is already available in the public domain, I can confirm that the arbitrator has awarded that the State Trading Corporation should pay between 4.3 billion to 4.5 billion rupees, depending on the rate of exchange, to Betamax Limited. On the 12th of June 2017, Betamax Limited submitted a claim to the State Trading Corporation to that effect. The STC has already replied on the 13th of June 2017, indicating that the STC will apply to the Supreme Court to set aside the award. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part B of the question, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, who has been in Cabinet for so many years, should know that advice tendered by law officers is privileged and are covered by the Official Secrets Act. Given the privileged nature of the legal... I hear the Leader of the Opposition is saying that he has any sort of advice. As Attorney General and the power vested upon me by the Constitution of the Republic of Mauritius, let me sound a note of caution about the Official Secrets Act. And it is my duty. The Leader of the Opposition will take his responsibility. The Leader of the Opposition will take his responsibility on the oath he took when he became Deputy Prime Minister of this former government. And it is my duty, Madam. I will not stray away from my duty. It is my duty under the Constitution of this land. So, the Leader of the Opposition, and in particular, Section 3, subsection 4E. So I continue, Madam.
Please, process, please.
Given the privileged nature, I've sounded the caution. Given the Leader of the Opposition takes his responsibility, because, Madam, our courts...
Please, silence. Silence, please. If we lose time, then I will not be able to give additional time, even if that is warranted.
Given the privileged nature, I was saying, Madam, of legal advice and the provisions of the Official Secrets Act, I do not propose to provide any details as to the legal advice tendered by any law officer of the Attorney General's office. Madam Speaker, it is important to note that the Attorney General's office has not been the legal advisor of a State Trading Corporation on this whole termination of contract and arbitration issue. The STC has received independent legal advice both locally and internationally. The STC has received independent legal advice to the effect that the Betamax Limited contract was against, quote, public interest. Advice was tendered along those lines by local respected senior counsel and senior attorney. Advice was also given by Stevenson Harwood, a reputable international firm, which is multidisciplinary, not just law, but shipping and other matters. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part C of the question, I would like to stress on the fact that the decision to terminate the contract between Betamax Limited and STC was taken after an independent study was carried out by Stevenson Harwood. As I said, the firm specialized in this matter. According to the Stevenson Harwood report, had the STC gone on the open market for the transportation of petroleum products, the cost would have been for time charter US dollars 55,765,247, and for a normal contract of affreightment US dollars 64,462,321 US dollars. This analysis showed that STC has overpaid an amount in the range of 45 million US dollars to 53 million US dollars. That is between 1.6 billion rupees to 1.9 billion rupees since May 2011. Madam Speaker, total amount paid to Betamax Limited for the period May 2011 to January 2015 was USD 125 million, sorry, the figures are so big, madam, I repeat, USD 125,244,128 US dollars for the importation of 4,046,703 metric tons of petroleum products. That is an average freight rate of USD $30.79 per metric ton. After the termination of the contract with Betamax Limited, the average freight rate paid by STC for the period February 2015 to May 2017 is US dollars 24.25 cents per metric ton. That is a savings of $6.54 per metric ton. Madam Speaker, from February 2015 as at May 2017, the total savings amounted to 16,328,099 US dollars. That is some 580 million rupees. It is estimated to be USD 17,581,599 USD. That is 622 million rupees by the end of July of this year, 2017. With regard to part D of the question, Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Honourable Minister of Industry, Commerce and Consumer Protection that the STC has informed him that the STC intends to apply to the Supreme Court under the International Arbitration Act to set aside the said arbitral award. The STC has issued a communique to that effect on the 7th of June 2017, and I'm tabling a copy of that communique. Honourable Leader of the Opposition should understand that I cannot give any more details on that forthcoming application to the Supreme Court, as same would prejudice the case of the STC.
Because of the Minister's incompetence, the Attorney General's incompetence, this is confirmed now that the country, taxpayers will be paying billions of rupees in fines. The first thing I'd like to ask whether he is aware that all the matters that he raised concerning the previous allocation have been fully inquired into by the police, and that the DPP has given a no case to answer to all the protagonists, of which I was not one of them. But, Madam Speaker, this is my first question.
Can I reply to that first question, Madam?
Continuing. I'm not finished.
One question. You've got two questions or one? One by one. One by one, please. One by one. One by one. Don't make provocations, please.
The House would be aware that the Commissioner of Police would be aware that on that matter raised by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, the Commissioner of Police has entered judicial review proceedings against that decision of the DPP, and the matter is currently sub judice pending before the Supreme Court of Mauritius.
Madam Speaker, the previous Prime Minister once described the Attorney General as the worst Attorney General in Mauritius since history, and this is being confirmed. I would like to ask the Attorney General, and he knows it very well, and I'd like to ask the Attorney General whether it is not a fact that the Solicitor General, on being consulted about the termination and the termination procedures, gave a report which suggested that, which advised government not to proceed in the way it is proceeding, and that he himself personally overruled that decision. Are you going to tell the truth now?
The Leader of Opposition is casting all sorts of imputation. I've already said that we are governed, any law officer, and the Attorney General is a law officer, and the Solicitor General is a law officer, and any law officer of the Attorney General's office, on any advice they give, the advice is privileged, be it for internal matters or to our client ministries, and I cannot, by virtue of the Official Secrets Act and on the claim of legal privilege, neither affirm, confirm, or say anything with regard to such advice. And again, I sounded another word of caution because, Madam Speaker, I think that, Madam Speaker,
can we have some silence in the House? Please, can we have some silence in the House? Have you finished your reply? Okay. He hasn't finished his reply.
He's going to repeat what he has said already. No, Madam Speaker. He cannot repeat.
Let me see whether he's repeating. Repeating. Honorable Jagru?
There is a point on which, Madam, is within the precinct of you, Madam Speaker, is what happens, I'm just saying, what happens if a former member of government discloses under the cloak of parliamentary immunity and privilege information which came to his knowledge when he formed part of cabinet and government. This is a very important issue which should not lightly be dealt with, in my honest opinion, under the cloak of parliamentary immunity.
The Minister, being very silly, had just confirmed the truth in whatever I was saying. Thank you.
I did not confirm anything,
so.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I will continue now. On the negotiations, we've had the due-free negotiations. Now we have the negotiations with Betamax. Is it confirmed that 5 ministers, sat with the owners of Betamax and negotiated new terms for the contract? And I have the minutes. Can you confirm that this is how it happened? You sat with them and negotiated? Is that it?
Madam Speaker, Cabinet set an interministerial committee which composed of former Minister of Finance, Honourable Ravi Yerrigadoo, myself as Attorney General, former Minister of Financial Services and Good Governance, Honourable Badin, and the current Minister of... Come answer your question.
No. Silence, please. Silence, I am on my feet. Can we restore order, please? Order in the House, please. Order in the House, please. Order in the House. No, Honourable Leader of Opposition, when you ask your question, allow the Minister to give his reply. He should be allowed to give his reply.
So Madam, it's common practice in our Westminster model, just like under the previous government, for Honourable Juval chaired an interministerial committee with so many ministers to decide on whether the contract should be allocated to Betamax.
Silence, please. Silence, yes.
I never negotiated with anybody. He should bow his head in shame. He should bow his head in shame for misinforming the public, Madam Speaker. Tell the Attorney General inform us whether in breaking this billion-rupee contract, any mise en demeure, any letters were written to Betamax to give them a final warning, first warning, second warning, third warning, and to tell them that they were breaking the contract? And if so, will it able, because no such letters were sent to them?
Madam, what is amazing is that the now leader of the opposition formed part of that cabinet. Madam, free meetings, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty because I cannot. Those will most probably be live issues in the application to set aside the award. But I can say, Cabinet set up the Interministerial Committee. There was a first meeting on the 9th of January 2015. There was a second meeting on the 14th of January 2015 and on the 25th of January 2015.
No provocation. Now, can I ask? Okay, we'll waste time. We'll waste time. I am asking both sides of the House not to be nervous and not to get excited. I know that you are passionate about this debate, but I'll ask both the leader of the opposition side and government side not to get nervous about this. Otherwise, the work of the House will not be able to proceed with the work of the House. Yes.
Madam Speaker, so I was saying that Interministerial Committee met the representative of Betamax Limited, Mr. Banjan, with his lawyers and legal advisors. They came to 3 meetings, one on the 9th of January 2015, the second one on the 14th January 2015, and the third one on the 22nd January 2015. And Madam, matters discussed in that meeting are to the knowledge of parties in that meeting, and Betamax Limited is fully aware, Mr. Bunjan is fully aware of matters which have been discussed on the four meetings, and Honorable Badem maybe can confirm to the Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Again, the Minister is confirming that one thing in writing was put, or mise en demeure, sent to Betamax before breaking this contract, which is costing us billions of rupees. I'd like to ask, and I'm going to, he mentioned cabinet. I'm going to say something very serious, Madam Speaker. Will the Minister, Attorney General, confirm that he misinformed cabinet by saying that it is Betamax who did not wish to continue negotiating, whereas it is the Ministerial Committee itself which took the decision to break off the contract? And there will be an inquiry on this one day, and you will have to answer.
I have, Madam Speaker, I have already replied to the question, and the threats of the Honourable Leader of the Opposition do not scare me, Madam. Let me just say, on so many, and let me just say, I don't want,
Honorable team, Honorable Bhagwan,
I haven't finished my answer.
please.
And I said, allow me to finish my answer, Honourable Juval. And I said, I don't want to put credibility and probity. Honourable Leader of the Opposition cited the former Prime Minister, perhaps Mr. Navin Ramgoolam, saying that whatever. But let me say, he knows on so many occasions, he congratulated me on so many issues, and he said I was an excellent Attorney General, from himself. Démentis ça! Si tu es vrai, démentis ça! Tu n'es pas capable de démentir et te connais.
Madam Speaker.
Order, please. Yes.
Madam
Honourable
Speaker.
Leader of Opposition, please. Continue.
It is not Mr. Ramgoolam. I'm talking about Sir Anirudh Jagnat who said that about you. And you know very well. Now, Madam Speaker, as far as the alleged savings are concerned, firstly, I challenge the Minister to produce the Stephen Harwood report so that it can be examined independently, because I have a lot of questions to ask about the Harwood report, Madam Speaker. Secondly, Madam Speaker, I would like the Honourable Minister to again submit his workings concerning any saving, alleged saving that has been made. Because from my calculation, Mr. Speaker, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm a chartered accountant, and I have some of the invoices. From my calculation, not only there hasn't been any saving, hundreds of millions, not even dissous, and we know this is a government dissous, not even dissous, but instead, Madam Speaker, the country may well have paid tens of millions of rupees additional because of the termination of the Betamax contract. So not only do we have the fine, let me just explain, he may not understand. I will have to explain, Madam Speaker. Not only do not make any saving, we are going to pay a fine, but now we're going to have to, no saving at all, a fine of hundreds of billions of rupees.
I'm informed, Madam, that the accounts of the SCC are duly audited and any payments made by the SCC can be checked empirically. Secondly, we have no problem. My learned friend, the Minister of Commerce and Industry and Consumer Protection, has tabled in the past in answers to PQs and even PNQs details. We have no problem tabling later during the day the workings of the backing up the figures I mentioned in the answer to this PNQ, Madam.
Madam, because one should know that the billing from Betamax is variable and not fixed, and with the huge fall in the price of bunker, with the new depth at the port and the full capacity of the use of the ship, Betamax, in my view, Madam Speaker, would have been cheaper today than government, and I will challenge the government on this issue to produce all the figures.
In reply to this, Madam, I'm advised, and I verily believe, that in the contract of affreightment, apart from the freight charges, over and above, freight charges can be variable depending on market rates, yes, so be it. There again, there are fixed costs which, independently of freight charges, would have to be paid. One, demurrage charges. Second, escalation rates for freight and demurrage. Port dues and bunker consumption on STC's account. Additional cargo. All this, madam, in the context of a single vessel full-time charter, that is, the Yerrigadoo had only one purpose and was supposed just to carry petroleum products only and only for the STC.
Madame Speaker, il nous prend pour des idiots. Le ministre me prend pour un idiot. Oui.
No.
And he's trying to...
Don't mention leaders. No, honorable leader of opposition. Honorable leader of opposition. Please. I would remind the House that this House is not a forum for personal attacks. So I would ask honourable members to refrain from using words which can be construed as being unparliamentary. Please.
Speaker, have some respect for the public. Have some respect. Who cares the makeup of the different issues on the cost of the billing of Betamax? Only thing that matters is whether now, per metric ton, the price is more or less calculated from using whatever Betamax would have charged. That is the only issue, and it is that issue which must be challenged and submitted to the public so that all the Mauritians can understand what exactly is the situation.
I've just answered to that, and one can refer to the Hansard edition, albeit unrevised, of what the Honourable Minister Ganga said in his speech a couple of days ago on the matter, where he explained everything.
I will challenge that, and I will ask the Honourable Attorney General to kindly provide to this nation, who are going to pay billions in fine, provide the full, not just a little bit of paper, the full information that you have in your files.
Yeah, STC will provide to the Honourable Minister, and we will table later. But I'm informed, as I said in my answer, the freight is actually now less. That STC is paying less now. STC is now paying $24.25 per metric ton, and under the Betamax contract, it's $30.79, and we are saving. And the STC, Madam Speaker, and the STC is, and the STC, Madam, is saving $6.54 per metric ton.
Speaker, those figures are incorrect, and my calculation, STC with Betamax would have paid around $21 to $23 per metric ton. And I say this, and I challenge STC, who are providing you with shameful, wrong information, not to do so in the future.
Was that a question, Madam?
Okay. I want to ask the Honourable Attorney General whether he is aware that in trying to obtain the supposedly cheaper price, which is not the cheaper price, which is more, in fact, a more expensive price, STC, and they will also have to answer for the wrong questions that they're giving you. I'm looking at them, Madam Speaker. And STC, whether they have used ships which are 20 years old and more, putting in danger, Madam Speaker, our island's environment and our tourism industry.
There's no such question about putting in danger, whatever. We've acted in the public interest, and I've demonstrated in the question, in the answer I've given to that PNQ, that Republic of Mauritius STC has saved. And as undertaken earlier, we will provide figures which STC shall be giving to its substantive minister, and I will happily table same by the end of today's session, Madam.
Speaker, I will also table just now two press articles confirming that there was in fact big discussion at the time in government as to whether we should go ahead or not with this contract termination. I would like in fact to ask the Attorney General whether he himself feels capable of continuing to advise government in the rest of these appeals that are coming up for hundreds or billions of rupees from Patel, from everywhere. Does he feel comfortable, capable of advising the government and even overruling the Solicitor General in these cases?
Madam Speaker, let it be clear, just like any minister in his respective ministry does not work on technical aspects of his ministry, but is given a portfolio, let me say, and I'll be happy if there's a substantive question on arbitration cases, versus arbitration or highly specialist arbitration question. In this, I'm only giving answers in the public domain. In this arbitration, commercial international arbitration, the STC, apart from having retained services of reputable senior counsel and senior attorney in Mauritius, was advised by a reputable law firm in Singapore, Raja and Tan. On all the other arbitration which we are defending or in which the state of Mauritius is appearing, we clearly, in areas that we do not have expertise, we have hired services of reputable law firms and their respective partners to advise Mauritius and to appear for Mauritius on those matters. So one must be exact and careful, and I'll be very pleased to reply to any specific question so that we enlighten on the House on any such arbitration matters and not make sweeping remarks.
Yes, Honourable Leader of Opposition, time is already over, but I will allow you 2 additional minutes because the Honourable Minister in one instance asked that the question be repeated. So yes. I give you 2 additional minutes for your last question.
I have, so 2 questions? 2 questions. How many questions?
One final question. Your
I have no question. One final only.
Yes, yes.
Madam Speaker, I will ask this, Madam Speaker. In view of the maladministration, it's clearly shown, the tampering with negotiations, the incompetence that has been shown, deliberately misinforming the public as to who broke up the negotiations, Madam Speaker. I am challenging this government to bring forward legislation to make ministers who do such acts against the public interest personally responsible for their cases, so that they pay personally for any of the damages and claims that are made against the government as a result of their own misdoing.
It's amazing, Madam Speaker, that the final question of the Honourable Leader of Opposition is the echo of Navin Ramgoolam asking in a press conference. What an amazing fact, Madam. And I do not agree at all with whatever the Honourable Leader of the Opposition has said. And I'm very sorry. What inescapable conclusion one can reach that he being the mouthpiece of Navin Ramgoolam in this Parliament.
Time is over. However, I wish to remind honourable members that private notice question is the privilege of the Leader of the Opposition. And as far as I'm concerned, there's only one Leader of Opposition. So I can't allow any supplementary questions unless the Leader of the Opposition has exhausted his questions. Yes.
Motion.
Madam Speaker.
Honourable Bhagwan, you're provocative. I've drawn your attention several times not to make provocations so as to allow the House to work in serenity. Yes.
Madam Speaker, I move that...
You continue, Honourable Bhagwan, last time. Okay?